Dylan, it's going to be a therapy session. Do you know what? We
Yeah.
should have wore the black suits today. It's going to be a bit like a funeral. But yeah, well, when's it going to end? Actually do have a few theories on when it's going to end. I actually think it's going to end a lot sooner than we think. I actually think it's bullish that the likes of the Middle East is escalating. I don't truly believe it's escalating. I think Trump always doubles down before he gets a deal done. It's the art of the deal. He wrote it himself. It is you threaten, you then double down on your threat, such as bring in 3,500 sailors round, ready to infiltrate the coastline, and then just show the US might when it comes to the military force. I don't think we're actually going to get there. Potentially, I could be completely wrong, but I think the fact that Trump says there's peace talks going on, the fact that Pakistan says there is negotiations willing to take place in Pakistan between the US and Iran, I think this is going to be over sooner than we think. I'm not actually reading too much into this ground troop invasion because we've seen today the White House has came out that Trump is not bluffing, and I don't believe he is bluffing. I think he will go in. Like if they don't back down, he will go in. But I think it's all part of to twist the hand of the Iranian regime. But look, that has started very, very negative. This is eVTOL Weekly. This is Liam and Dylan ready to sit for a therapy session. I think it's going to be a therapy session. I've been looking across at the news. Look, I've started covering a market open hour show. So hopefully this week it will be a lot smoother. There last week I was just trying to come to grips with what it's like to run a market show. And yeah, I'm currently in the UK at the moment. So guys, you can see completely different background. But look, we're gonna push straight through.
Yeah.
Completely different setups. If you see me looking that way, it's just because my screen's off to the right of me. I don't know if it's at the left of you guys, but it's to the right of me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through a few numbers, Dylan.
Okay.
This is going to be as of Friday closing bell.
Interesting.
Horizon Aircraft went down 1.47%, so it went down to 134. Now, after hours, it did go to 140. I said if we don't hold that 140 range, we're going to start going lower, and I truly believe if we keep escalating, Horizon Aircraft is going to hit the dollar. Beta Technologies, well under 15 now. It's more than 50% down from IPO, 5.87%, so it's moving quick now. Negative 1410. I truly believe you can start heading towards down around 1150, and I think you could go much further than that, especially with the lockup period. And we'll get into that a little bit, but there has been some news around Beta Technologies we will get into in regards to Royal Mail. Joby Aviation. Remember when I said $8 and people were, I don't think it'll go that low. We're sitting at 810 now, 437. I think my next sort of look for Joby is around 750. And then Archer Aviation, again, I said if we don't hold 550, we'll be going down to 480. We're sitting at 509. And I think 480 is a fundamental level because we go lower than 480. That's when institutes really start getting worried. And we do have news around institutes and Archer Aviation. Vertical Aerospace. What can I say? 206. Remember when I said $4? We don't hold a $4 range. It's going to be a complete capitulation. Went down 13.81% on Friday. We don't hold this $2. It's going to be all she wrote because we're now 205 million market cap. Dylan, S&P has completely lost its groove, we'll put it that way, down 1.3% on Friday. We're now sitting at 582.
Okay.
96 a share.
Okay.
So
okay.
I'm actually starting to look at this and be like, right, do I just start loading in the S&P again and trying to protect? I think the S&P actually is the safest way to, I don't know, it's the best risk reward you can do at the moment. Yes, you can say you can hold cash, but at the same time, I think this market can move quick. I think any sort of news could actually give a incredible green spike, and at least if you're in the S&P, the cash will go with it. If we keep going down, yes, you will be losing some of your cash, but you're not going to lose as quick as the rest of the market are going. We will touch on what will happen if we do break them levels I was just speaking about there. It will be a lot more positive too. I think there is a lot to be excited about. I don't think it is all bad. I don't think it is a hit hard and hope and just try and ride the wave, but I don't know. I think it is going to be a therapy session done. How do you feel about the market this week? eVTOLs, considering.
Yeah, I think it was Monday. It could have been Tuesday, but we got that news and it was after hours. And I think it had first came in about 2 hours earlier from a Middle East, basically a major journalism network out there, that maybe there were some talks about the 15 points of agreement coming in and maybe some conflict resolution that was coming in. So you had a little bit of like aftermarket spike that it came in there. And as we continue to progress through with the conflict, I think, on the eVTOL side, I think, like you said it, Liam, I think one part is looking at general retracement levels that these stocks can go to. And I guess if I'm being fair and honest about how the way I've been playing it over the last few weeks and within the last week is, I think it's been something that still I've wanted to dip my toe in the waters and keep myself in, because again, something that I'm curious to, and through just the chat in the community, like during this time period, now that we've hit such of the market red, and it's like so many gains from 2025 have been evaporated, and that's not just within the eVTOL sector, but we can stretch out to other AI, quantums, some AI sort of plays in there as well. So seeing so many of those gains kind of wiped out, just seeing if people now are in that accumulation mode, or is it accumulating for that next spike, and then we're just going to be swing trading these eVTOL stocks as they kind of go up and down. It did seem like HOVR was that last one to kind of get the rug taken out of it. What was it, Wednesday to Thursday or so was when it had that 17% drop down. Maybe I'm a day late on it, but within the week. So I think for me, once I saw that horizon, that seal was getting taken off of that share price and that market cap was starting to drop, it just seemed to me that there was going to be more pain within inside of the whole eVTOL market, as that was one that really seemed like sentiment would hold it until it could hold it until the very end. And then at a certain point, kind of the plug was pulled out and we saw this steep drop on there. So, I think for me, again, with the forward-looking opportunities in the market, this was where, kind of talking with you, Liam, and we were talking last week and maybe on the Archer pod about just looking at some long dated contracts again for that January 27 range. And again, we're always going to put the non-financial advice kind of section around it, but just kind of looking again, it's like, do you want to deploy the capital, and just kind of being rhetorical? It's like, do you want to deploy the capital into shares that may depreciate over the next 2 weeks, month, 3 months or so? Or again, looking at these certain strike prices in the, well, not the strike prices, but the contract prices that have continued to go down literally like by 10% each day. So kind of been averaging down on those contracts, and then kind of curious to see what midsummer is going to bring inside the eVTOL network, and see if those will be a few contracts and maybe hold on to a few to have the opportunity for some cheaper shares come January of 27 and kind of play the market that way. But yeah, it's been one where it hasn't shaken my confidence, but there's been nothing that I've seen that's been broken inside the companies. It's just the conflict with inside of the globe, as well as the markets kind of shook it. But I have some other thoughts, but I'll bounce back to you, Liam. What you thinking?
Is this fast CNC? Rad Hard Tech. Have you changed your name, my guy? Not buying wasn't on the poll. Guys, I have just put up a poll. With the eVTOLs at the moment, are you buying and holding? Are you swing trading? Or are you keeping the cash and buying lower?
Good question.
82%, which I think, I don't want to call guys liars, but for 82% of people
What are they coming here?
are buying and holding
Oh, okay.
as we're dropping down.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm a little bit dubious. That's quite high. That is very high. No one's swing trading. Fair enough.
Okay.
There's not much in it to be swing trading at the moment. Maybe Horizon Aircraft could move quite quickly. I'm not going to lie. In my $500 day challenge, I have a bit of Horizon Aircraft at 146, and I probably will use that as a swing trade. But no, I can see why people aren't swing trading, and I wouldn't actually advise swing trading. But we need to start moving quick. Keeping cash and holding lower 18%. And I actually thought that would be the bigger bet. But guys, do make sure you are jumping in and voting on that poll. I can see it moving. More people are buying and holding. I love it. Also, I want you to do something for me, guys, as we're coming in here. I need to show YouTube that we are engaging. So if you jump in the bottom right corner of that live chat, smash them reactions, whether it's the heart, whether it's the party 100, smash it 100, 200 times. It really helps us out. And we're going to do that throughout the stream. King Durfee's holding and crying. I love it.
Right,
do you know what? At least you're honest. At least you're honest, my guy. Bought again this week, just 130 Archer, but still buying and holding. Love it.
Nice.
And yeah, so I'm gonna have to get used to calling you Radhard Tech. I'm just gonna call you Chris. I think that's the easiest way from now on, because I'm gonna get confused between Vasi and C, Radhard Tech, and Chris. Well, have you changed your name on X to Radhard Tech? If you have, we can just discontinue the Vasi and C, and yeah, we can go for Radhard Tech. But okay. Would we get a little bit more positive with this? And we don't actually speak about them enough, as Beta Technologies did get a nice little deal with Royal Mail in the UK. And myself and Dylan were actually speaking about that prior to the opening of the show. That's why we ran a little bit late there, because we were actually just having a chat about it. But Beta Technology, they're going with their Alia, and they're going helping the likes of Royal Mail to get postal delivery out to some of the Scottish Islands. Now, I was explaining to Dylan, you don't normally get planes or helicopters flying out to them islands. It's normally all done by boat. So I presume it's to do with more Amazon deliveries. And I need to pedal back a little bit, because I actually wasn't aware that you guys weren't aware who Royal Mail is. So they are the UK's version of USPS, put it that way.
Yeah.
So how big could I see this deal getting? I don't know. Scottish Islands are tiny. Postal service out to there. I couldn't see a major contract with Royal Mail, but it's positive to start seeing that electric aircraft are starting to come into the mix when it comes to postal services as well, them cargo missions. And we said, wouldn't it be quite interesting if they did get a partnership with the likes of USPS, whether it was to, I don't know, fly out to Hawaii, etc. What are your thoughts on that, Dylan?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And when you're kind of talking about it, Liam, it also kind of makes me again kind of think of sale of aircraft. So again, just kind of to peel back the curtains again, as I was talking to Liam about it, as I'm researching Royal Mail, it's kind of shown as, $400 to $500, 4 or 500 year legacy company that's been running. So, from the US side, when you see Beta getting a partnership with Royal Mail, it can almost seem like one of those kind of like boom confetti sort of moments. So kind of getting to talk with Liam and getting the understanding of more what Royal Mail represents over on the UK side of, as opposed to the US, maybe knowledge of it. And then when you broke it down also to the types of flights that have actually been broken down into the terms with Royal Mail, it does actually, I think, play in a lot to what Liam's saying, where we know that Beta has already outfitted their aircraft for certain cargo. So I do think you're kind of hitting the nail on the head, where we could see that going into, if it's Royal Mail / a Amazon. And I think what you were saying too, as well, is kind of like that overnight sort of delivery where you could get them out to the islands. Now, as you talk about Hawaii, also expands me out to think of other like Pacific Island, Caribbean islands, any of those sort of island where, again, maybe it's taking that transition where we've always been thinking vehicle as in car, that's being transformed, and the eVTOL will come in and really help those use cases, but really seeing those kind of island hopping. So again, backdooring that into the Surf Air deal that happened, we kind of know that that's going to be for the island hopping in Hawaii. Now, as you've kind of spoke about the Royal Mail deal, is happening in Scotland. Again, more of the island hopping. So, maybe to keep a radar in, and this is just me being hypothetical, to like maybe a Caribbean island sort of area or something like that, where again, maybe the ability to have the faster moving payload may work better than the ships and such. And then again, it's also going to be interesting to see, does Beta want to own and operate these inside of these basically contracts or agreements, or will Beta go for more of the sale of aircraft? And again, I want to give a big nod to Beta because they have the firm order, and firm order means dollars in the door, which
But they
means
just seem to be able to get these firm orders done, and that's what I really can't grasp around the rest of the industry, where it's either memorandums of understanding, or they're just saying it's too early for firm orders to take place. And look, I genuinely, it'd be like me looking at the Hustle Brothers, put it that way,
okay,
and me saying our conversion rate of subscribers
sure,
can't be done because, I don't know, we're too early in the game. And then looking across at one of our competitors and them just smashing it through with the conversion rate. And it's like, well, no, as a company, it's up to you to find out why you can't get these firm orders when not
that's
company
true.
can. It's showing that it's possible. And I'm just unaware what Beta are doing so well to get everyone to commit to these firm orders. Now, I am aware the majority of them are CTOL. But at the same time, Archer Aviation have completed out their CTOL campaign. So why can't we just start producing CTOL midnight and start getting firm orders for them?
That's a great question. Do you think it would put a black eye in either the taste of the Archer Aviation investors or Archer Aviation in general if they were to say that they were releasing a CTOL model? Because again, as I was looking at Project Nix and still looking to see who the final four would kind of get down to be firm, I did kind of see a note in there that basically they were looking to have this program established for launch really more in 2030. So again, just kind of showing it how the kind of entry ground level we are, be it on commercial and or defense. So, again, in my head, it not to be stale, but kind of balancing out that it's like, okay, if we're building aircraft, are they being built for TIA? Are they being built? So, what is it with Beta that's been able to have them have the success in the CTOL model being ordered and basically affirmed that that's going to be something going forward? And maybe it's the showcase of, again, all the nautical miles that they've been able to put in the air, where Beta is not only flying the aircraft, they literally are like, excuse me, the team members are being the pilots of the aircraft. So the engineers, again, Kyle Clark has always spoke about, or I don't want to say always, but has spoken about how he wants everybody on the team to have their pilot's license. So basically they can go and operate everything in the air that they've been designing on the ground and see how that tests in the air as well. So to me, I guess my general answer would have to be on the CTOL flight mileage and that being proven out. But, if we are looking at, more of a 2028 to 2030 in the sense of the revenue coming in through the door, I think for Archer right now, the escape in that, the first thing that comes to mind would be the defense contract. And so that would kind of bridge the gap. So I think through Q1 to Q3, getting an understanding again of what's going on with programs of record and defense money coming through the door, and then as well as Priya was talking about with the software. So to me, again, it's like Beta's doing something to offset their capex. So what are Joby and what is Archer doing to be able to do that in a timely manner themselves? Because again, right now it seems like they have about enough money to get to that finish line of 2028. But that's, again, how much money have we already spent to tool out the factories? How much money is going to have to continue to go out to expand out, to build out on the Georgia factory to get that up to 650? So yeah, I think my long-winded answer is I think that Beta quietly, and they've been doing this all pre-IPO. It's like, and again, and I know you, and I know Liam, I know that you've been taking notice to Beta for at least a year now, just to put like a round or a random kind of number on the kind of time frame. But we've been speaking about Beta for a long, long time. You just couldn't invest in the Beta until last November, and then we've kind of gone through the talks of share, kind of market cap and what the valuation, and will Beta have to do dilution kind of when it gets a year or two on to the market. But again, if they're offsetting their capex, still to be seen. I'm not saying dilution won't be in the future for Beta investors, but still to be seen as Beta seems to be the one capturing the capex.
I think the chat seems to be getting a little bit confused. I see a few of you there.
Sure.
Beta is not an eVTOL company. It's flying an electric low cost to operate VTOL. No mystery there. No, it's when they offer the VTOL. No, what I'm saying is, why can't Archer just go out? They've proven out their CTOLs. Why can't they go down the same basis that Beta are going down and offer them CTOL? Your direct competition then to Beta Technologies when it comes to these contracts. And I see like some of you are saying it'll leave a bad taste in investors' mouths. No, it wouldn't. If they got a firm order, then there is not a chance that would leave a bad taste in my mouth, because that's revenue coming in.
That's actually really true, Liam. Keep going.
Yeah.
No, keep going.
Like, what would frustrate is if we went 100% CTOL and got rid of the eVTOL, but it wouldn't leave a bad taste in my mouth if we started generating contracts with CTOL. I don't think anyone would have a bad taste in Archer Aviation if they started actually getting contracts, as long as they didn't completely 360 and go, right, we're no longer VTOLing. But look, they're proving that out. Archer Aviation at the moment, what, 509? Great opportunity, especially if you're not in or you're not happy with your position. I am expecting 480. If this type of market continues, I think there's a lot of fear going around, so I would expect the market to be extremely red tomorrow, and we could hit that 480 tomorrow. Just hope we don't close into the week under that.
Let me ask you a random question, Liam. Because again, always there's, for anybody new to eVTOL Weekly, there's, me and Liam like to chat a few minutes before, but with my son, sometimes I'm only there 2 minutes before, so the chat kind of comes here. But like as we talked about the 480 mark, and if we're, again, this is all hypothetical, but if we're the long, kind of buy and hold long-term 5-year vision, minimally on this company, would you feel more comfortable, and don't gotta hold you to this, but would you feel more comfortable waiting for 480, buying at 480, or if you don't see it, you don't see it, and then getting in at like 550, 560, so kind of like that invert, so trading that 20, 30 cents, you know what I mean? So as opposed to deploying at 509 and being like, it's gonna go.
You're not gonna know the difference between 509 and 480.
Sure,
if we get you, I don't know, $20 in the next 2 years.
I like that.
You're tell me, anyone that's invested in Palantir, Rocket Lab, do you genuinely remember when you bought it at 874 or 1152? Like, it really doesn't matter. And I said that with Horizon Aircraft. Buying at 134 is going to be no different than buying it at 90 cents at this stage. If you really do expect it to get to $10
or 180, or it's kind of I thought you were going no, great point on going that way. With no, that's No, that's a great point you had there. And yeah, it's when you were talking about the anybody that bought like Robinhood or Palantir at those levels, it's like, do they remember buying it? You know what? I bet they do remember buying it, but do they regret buying it at those levels? No, not at this point in
No,
time,
no, no.
you know? So yeah, they're probably very proud of like, oh, I remember that day when the market thought I was stupid buying 100 shares of Robinhood at $11. It just throwing out random
The
hypotheticals
only time
again,
you
but
regret not buying more
uh-huh.
is
Yeah.
the all-time low. Like in my head, I remember
Uh-huh.
it was the 1st of August, 24.
Okay.
Rocket Lab on the intraday got to 298. I know that on my head, yeah.
Right, 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 right.
Um, but
Tattooed
apart
there.
from that, I wouldn't be able to tell you when we started bouncing left, right, and center. I couldn't tell you that. I couldn't tell you the times I missed and the times I didn't. But I do regret not buying more. And
I'm
it's
gonna
way easy to look back now and say it was always on the cards. But if you're truly long-term eVTOL, well, then it should always be on the cards. You're not going to care what you buy at, I don't know, 59 or 509, 350. Yeah, it really isn't
750.
going to
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah, and you know what? A few things. One for the chat. And I'm sure I'm gonna forget one or seven of these things
I just
as
want
I
to jump
start
in
saying.
there quickly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Liam's camera's bouncing around. Do you know why that is? I've just only set it up, and every time I move whatsoever, I haven't screwed the camera right in, so it'll do that. I'll move my leg back a bit so it won't bounce up and down my guy. But Dylan, yeah, keep going.
Oh yeah, sure, sure, sure. I think at this point in time too, after we have because if you look at the 1 year charts, there's some that will show probably not at this time, but 6 months ago we were seeing 300% up and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just curious if there's anybody out there. Oh, and then let me put this down too because this was another thought. But yeah, I wonder if there's anybody out there who were the buyers in those like 350 ranges when it was all suppressed, bought their lot, whatever it was, didn't buy at all over 5. You know what I mean? And was just like, that was my buying, like almost maybe with a hover or something that we
Yeah.
talk about right now, and deploy their 10K or whatever they chose, and are holding it until the end. So I just, it's one of those days, unless you jumped in the stock today, it's probably hard to have a cost basis
But what
quite
confuses
under.
me is why do
Yeah.
people buy it at 350 originally
Mm-hmm.
to then know today not believe in it? Because we're
Mm-hmm.
so much further ahead than we were when we were previously at 350. But this time around, people seem to just, I don't know, not believe in eVTOL anymore. They seem to, and that's going to hit on another point
Yeah, go for it.
that you wanted to cover. They seem to be flooding into the likes of quantum.
Oh, okay.
They're flooding into the space sector now that NASA want to go for all these moon missions and the fact that SpaceX is IPOing. But again,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's looking for greener pastures, but problems do arise in these sectors, whether it's quantum, whether it's space, the space sector. And rushing towards space when you've never originally been in it,
Mm-hmm.
all that's going to happen there, you're going to be holding the bag over there, and eVTOLs will start recovering again, and you're just going to get stuck between a rock and a hard place. I'm not saying bet against space. I am a massive investor in space. I want to start entering quantum completely, but I don't know. I'd just be very careful if you're genuinely long-term on eVTOL, especially in conditions like this where anything can change at the flick of a switch.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be risking your long-term investment. Guys, this is exactly why people speak about always having savings in their account, always having a rainy day fund. Because when moments like this occur, you don't need the added stress of wondering when I can get my money out. If you are genuinely comfortable in everyday life and you have done your due diligence, as long as the company doesn't need a cash raise, why do you care whether the company's above $1 or at $100 if you're not willing to sell for another 5-10 years, if you get me? It would be nice to be looking at $100 stock. And look, I look at the portfolio. I'm human. I look at the portfolio and I do roll my eyes. I can't look at it. But at the same time, it doesn't affect me. I wouldn't be jumping out of eVTOLs. I do expect it to go lower,
Sure.
but
Mm.
I'm not going to sell out at a loss to try and catch it lower down. What that's going to happen there? When I sell out, I am guaranteeing to myself that I have lost money. Now, on another hand, don't try and catch falling knife. Like, we had one guy on our streams in the middle of the week saying he was ready to deploy X amount at Horizon at $1, X amount at 50 cent, X amount at 25 cent, X amount at 12.5 cent. And I'm like, wait, if we're getting that low, we need to know when to call it a day. Don't be
That's fair. That's
thrown on
fair.
the sunk cost fallacy. Do know when to limit yourselves a little bit. Not financial advice, and you could make a hell of a lot of money if it does recover, but if you start getting well into the delisting territory.
Well, and if I could tap in on that really quickly, and too, because you highlighted something that I was thinking of. And again, this is therapy session, eVTOL Weekly Sunday, this one. You know, there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, and that's where we're going to come and talk this all out. So before I forget my thought, Horizon, HOVR, right? So it was facing delisting. You'll probably know better than me, Liam, give or take, like March to April-ish of last year. So, you know, I'll nail that down, but I apologize. In or around that time. You know, there was, Hustle Brother interview that came out, as well as the market stayed green. You know, there was a lot of eVTOL sentiment that was going around, you know, with Joby and the progressions that they were making on the shareholder decks, the progressions that Archer was showing through their public PR that they were putting out, you know, and I wonder if Horizon was able to kind of catch a wave as well, because my basic, again, kind of thought and point in this is, if we didn't kind of have that big pump from November of 24 that kind of rode, you know, we had the tariff, you know, kind of ups and downs, but we made our ways out of that. So, you know, would HOVR have been able to withstand that sub $1 mark, you know, and have that confidence in it, had we been in either these market conditions a year ago? And again, I know HOVR will have some time because they were able to get past that delisting, basically protocol with the New York Stock Exchange. So not to say that HOVR would be at $1 tomorrow and be facing delisting, but again, was it some of those market macro conditions that were keeping HOVR in that NYSE stock game? You know,
that's an interesting thought. I can't actually lie. What's your thoughts on vertical aerospace at the moment? 209 on the way down, 205 million market cap. There's no way for them to generate cash at the moment. It just seems like it's a falling story. It's a bit sad to see, because everything seems to be going against them at the time. You don't have the volume. You don't have the macro with you. Yes, you are getting beaten by one of the juggernauts at the moment in this eVTOL space. And it just seems like when it rains, it pours for vertical aerospace. Can you see a way out for them?
You know, and sometimes on these eVTOL weeklies, guys, these are top of the head thoughts. So they could change tomorrow, they could change next week. But to your question, Liam, you know, what I'm starting to think too is, you know, if the market cap keeps falling, that's generally what we're judging, that the cash or cash on hand could be, you know, were pulled out from the company. So, you know, I think something to also be considerate of is how much just general cash on hand does Vertical have? Because if they're about to go through a lawsuit with Archer, so again, Archer has no debt. So I'll kind of wait on that. But back toward that into, you know, if you could remind me, Liam, once we kind of get back into like that quantum and AI, you know, getting the growth multipliers and such. But again, my point being is, you're almost about to have Vertical go against a cash juggernaut in a legal battle. And if Archer wants to draw this out, that's, again, I'm going to say the obvious, that's going to be costing more money, more time. So does Vertical have the time, the money, and the time to have a year-long legal battle with Archer? Or is there some settlement agreement that is just going to have to come to the table, again, sadly, based on market conditions, entry into service, maturity of VALO, and again, the contracts that are able to get got by Vertical Aerospace within the time frame of this litigation going through, and ultimately to the result of the litigation. So is the litigation holding up Vertical from getting certain contracts, programs of record, firm orders, MOUs, be it that, again, if it was MOU, technically the company probably, meaning like the purchaser probably wouldn't have to put money out of pocket, maybe like $1 million down payment or something. But basically, again, if you're basically seeing a company that could go to litigation, and what is making their aircraft work, getting that IP stripped away from them, what are we left with? So yeah, that's a tough one.
I just think it's a worrying time for them. Like, if as I look across the sector, there's nothing attractive about them at this level, even at 209. Yes, if it's a turnaround story, but at the same time, if it's a turnaround story, Horizon Aircraft has much better reward in there. And then if you want to play it a little bit safer, the likes of Archer and Joby have an awful lot of run room compared to the likes of Vertical Aerospace for that risk reward. So I just think they're just trapped at the moment. Beta Technologies, I'm staying well away from.
Okay.
Joby at the moment actually does just seem like. Now, is it with Joby though? We're just so used to seeing eVTOLs at these prices, at the like of 810. Market cap is currently 7.93 billion. And are we just looking at Joby and just being more familiar with seeing eVTOL at these type of levels? Or like, I feel like people are starting to back away from the likes of Archer right now because they think everyone's starting to turn on them because of the company, and it's not. It's genuinely, it's just the whole macro pulling this all down. Now, when does it end?
Yeah. So if you don't mind, Liam, I might pop in on that. And I'm not a Joby prophet, and it's not to rain on a Joby parade, but I do think lower could be incoming. Could there be a V-shaped rally? And just to touch on the V-shape, even though we're doing eVTOL weekly, and I'd assume a lot that are here are either early investors, new investors, or general eVTOL enthusiasts. When we talk about the V-shaped recoveries, I don't want people to forget, and again, not financial advice, but there's a lot of other companies within the market that have faced drawdowns within just the conflict and what's going on in the market. So if somebody's looking for their V-shaped recovery, that might be something a little bit more safe for them. Do your own homework in that sense. Respectfully, do your own homework and do find that company that, is drawn down 20, 30, 40% that might have profit out there and, revenue on the books and all that kind of stuff. But going back to Joby, my general crystal ball brain is seeing a $6 handle on Joby. And that is based on two things minimally right now. Three. We still have a strong growth multiplier placed into Joby. So to the cash and cash on hand, that's probably at a 4x or so growth multiplier at the moment, comparative to Archer, which is coming out at about a 1.5 to 2 multiplier on there. We saw at tariff time that Joby and Archer did retrace to generally around the same share prices. And they would probably be about the same market caps these days, give or take the dilution that each company's had during that time. So, with a prolonged period of red, I could definitely see that, maybe Joby and Archer start trading more around that similar dollar range that they were back in April of 25. Sadly, erasing a lot to all of the gains that were there during that period. So, again, do we have a fourth consecutive year of a bull market intact or to come? It's still early in the year. I'm not sure. But to be careful on that. And and oh yeah, and with Joby, it's and what I'll say this about Archer first, so that we know it's more well-rounded. To me, Archer is behind on their mass scale. And that's just, I'm gonna be honest. It is, and I think, Liam, something you had highlighted earlier of like why people who were buying at 350 might not want to buy in now. I was sent over from Joby during the it was trying to remember which hashtag gate it was, but anyway, it was a presentation around the it was when they were trying to explain their shareholder letter and their the bubble fill in for FAA cert and all the good stuff. So the one that was sent over was from 2022. So not only with that, I was reading through, and the general promises that were being made in 2022 was that commercial ops is around the corner. Commercial ops is around the corner. And like, so from every earnings call we've been listening to 2 years now, commercial ops is around the corner. So again, plug and play defense, which I think has had maybe your Archer and your Joe, maybe that's some of the reason for your vertical drawdown too, where if you don't have a defense play within your eVTOL business, what can we, it's like the market being like, well, what can we do for you right now? So with me saying that Archer's behind on their mass production, as we thought it was going to be 650 aircraft, give or take, by 2028. So, with that being said, what I'm not hearing enough about on the Joby side is the payload. I don't, and I apologize if I've missed it, but I don't think that there, of my knowledge, has been a kind of like public more explanation of what's going on with the payload since the earnings call. And, Joby was able to have their earnings call pre-conflict breakout. So they were still saying that it was entrance into UAE by Q3. And then the payload question came up. Software, as well as I apologize. The other, it was software and the other one had to be looked at. But so with that, and then if we basically, my thing too is, if the revenue on Joby's side has been talked about coming through the commercial side, and there's the uncertainty of them reaching commercial operations either by payload or by conflict by Q3, I guess generally, again, it sometimes can be a beautiful thing, the map that the eVTOLs lay out, being that there is certain milestones for FAA, TIA, all that kind of stuff, the showcases, Olympics, all that kind of stuff that go into it. But yeah, I'm just kind of wondering right now, what can Joby prove out to kind of help silence the payload? And if they cannot enter commercial ops by Q3, where do we go from there? Is there a plan B?
The eVTOL industry does confuse me a little bit, because even when we started, maybe naively, we thought certification was always around the corner, and it's starting to look like, I truly believe Joby will be 2027, and I believe Archer could be 28, could be 29, could be 2030. And I'm starting to accept that with Archer Aviation, that it could be pushed out towards 2030, and maybe we will, like we've said before, go after that whole defense opportunity there. Joby Aviation, I do believe, will get the likes of their payload under control pretty soon. Once, I think, and I hate to concede this, but at the same time, we have to start calling a spade a spade. Bagger Holden has been calling it for, 2 years? Battery technology is the problem. Battery technology has to be the problem with all of these. Not only, we can say Joby Aviation and the payload, but similarly, I think as we start getting towards that level, is Midnight going to have the same problems? Is Alia going to have the same problems?
So it has to be shown. You're on it. Yeah, absolutely.
So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do we go down the hybrid route that
Mm-hmm.
the likes of Horizon Aircraft are going for? Is it a step back from what we have been trying to achieve this whole time? Do we have to concede that point? Not necessarily. I think battery technology will catch up. But as investors, do we have to start accepting that, look, many of these timelines that we have been hearing, many of these timelines that we have put ourselves onto these companies, I think we just need to start accepting that. I genuinely am starting to believe that 2030 seems to be when all these companies are going to start popping off in the way we have assumed 2026, 2027.
And if I could pitch in something into that 2030, Liam, because, Joe Ben had talked about autonomous flight being about 5 years away. I think we had spoke on the stream just a little bit ago about Project Nyx, and that, again, being the loyal wingman, it's an autonomous aircraft. And that's going to be coming from, again, a partnership with Andrew GK, but with Archer Aviation as well. And like you're talking about with just general possible FAA delays and such, through the EIPP, and initially it will be the piloted flights, but just like you said, Liam, we've also talked about, when does that rollover from eVTOL piloted become accepted, and then to the autonomous side where that becomes accepted. So I'm almost curious too. It's like, be it through conflict or special regs that get put in through the IPP, who has a 3-year lifespan on it, will the autonomous technology be able to be proved out in a quicker, more efficient, whatever word you guys want to put after that, by being able to go through these government programs and then ultimately be rolled out on the commercial side as well. But yeah, I do think, I think we're going to do our best job to temper expectations when it does come to the commercial rollouts. And, with that though, I'll still say the thing that I say all the time, where on the flip side, if you look at these companies and what they're doing today versus what they were doing a year ago, nobody can say that these companies are doing less today than they were a year ago. So I'm in line with you, Liam. I do think that Joby will figure out the payload. But Bag, you've been on it. You've been nailing the right questions, and I think that's what it is, to keep the eyes open. And also, as you were speaking on the battery tech, Liam, again, I just want to say, and I don't have the companies to give you guys and all that kind of stuff, but just again, as a community, if we want to start tapping into kind of what else is going on out there in the market, I've been saying that, chips and data centers, have kind of been the hot topics and all that kind of stuff. And is there more room to run in there? Probably, maybe not. Maybe it'll consolidate, but one of three things will happen: up, down, or in the middle. But battery tech, again, I'm just wondering if that's something that's being slept on a little bit in the market, as so much of the focus is on more of the AI data center chips and such. Because again, whether it's for the eVTOLs, the wearable devices, drones, use case go on for that, it's the battery tech that is and will be getting better, and will have to get better to have all of this stuff basically come true and be something we can use for our lives.
Like, I'm starting to look at the VTOL industry. In theory, the concept of air taxi, and I think this is what we're trying to get our head around. The concept of air taxi seems easy. And for the past 2.5 years, we've been trying to unpack this whole industry and what this business is. And I think sometimes the businesses themselves are adapting as they go along. So for us to try and, I don't know, patch it together, sometimes we do oversimplify it. And I think when we see the likes of, I don't know, Palantir, NVIDIA, and all these flying in, do we start running before we can walk? Because we get caught a little bit in the hype. Even when we hear the likes of Joe Ben say autonomy is 5 years away.
Right.
But to what level is autonomy 5 years away? Is it that? I don't know. Like the Royal Mail contract
Mm-hmm.
is it the likes of they will start being autonomous. I cannot see in 5 years' time you will have
Right.
pilot or non-pilot in
Right.
passenger.
Right.
We can't even show that we can have passenger flights with a pilot on board. So we're definitely running before we can walk. And
I got you.
we've said it. Every earnings call we listen to, we think we're
Uh-huh.
so much closer. And every earnings call, it's like the previous earnings calls forgotten about, and it's a completely new problem we have.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Joby Aviation, before this earnings call, no one was calling about payload. Then all of a sudden, payload seemed to be
Mm-hmm.
the talking point. With Archer Aviation, 3 quarters previous it was, or was it 4 quarters previous, it was Archer Defense. Then the next quarter there was no defense even mentioned.
Right.
And it was all to do with the transition. And then transition was kind of forgotten about, and we were talking everything about CTOL, and it was turned into the likes of HOVR, and everything was going on about how Archer were going purely CTOL, and that's why they've bought HOVR, and why they need an airport extension.
Yeah.
And then it moves to now all companies need to come together, and EIPP seems to be like the bigger thing. I can tell you, in the next one, we probably won't even hear about EIPP. It'll be some other problem. And it's one of those that I think they're trying to understand too much. And I think these companies are adapting as they're going along, which you can't blame them.
Sure.
As Goat said there, a lot of it is out of their control. It is up to the FAA. But then at the same time, if the likes of battery technology is a problem, do we want to have a spade called a spade? And no one wants to be the first company to admit it. Yeah. And they think they'll lose us as investors. You're not going to lose me as an investor if you admit it. But if you keep kicking the can down the road, then you are going to lose me as an investor, because from, I don't know, 2.5 years ago, I felt like we were making incredible progress towards FAA certification.
Sure.
This was guaranteed to be the year, more or less, of...
Sure. 2026, right?
It was guaranteed to be the year of FAA certification.
Yeah.
From the earnings call,
Yeah.
did we actually hear much about, right, certification for certain is happening this year? No, we didn't.
No.
So, I don't know. And then you have one side saying you're not going to the Olympics. You have the other side saying you can't carry the payload. And in reality, both of you are not flying passengers. So just, this is what I was on about, the VTOL war cry.
Yeah.
We have all these investors bickering with each other. You're going to get no new investors in, because every time they see Archer or Joby, all they can see is people giving out about drag penalties, or one company can't fly. Like, one company saying the other can't fly, and the other company saying that one can't fly. So anyone that's new to eVTOL, like, well, geez, the two big companies can't fly. Why don't we all come together? This is the time, because this is when we are in the trenches together. Whether you're a Joby investor, whether you're an Archer investor, whether you've been in Joby, you've seen them highs of around $20, whether you've seen the highs of Archer around $14 or $13. We both have the same pain. And yes, you can try and put someone off investing in the other company, but I can tell you, if you put someone off investing in Archer, they are not going into Joby. They're just going to leave eVTOL. If you try and put them off Joby, there's no way they're going to go into Archer, and you're going to put them off eVTOL. Why not actually try and build something positive together? And I don't care whether you have 1 follower, 100,000 followers on X. At least just start spreading stuff positively and trying to get this moving. Like I said, Joby Playlist the last day put up a few songs. Goat Games does a few songs. Yes, nothing to do with investing. However, it's getting them out there. It's getting a bit of positivity. That's not all about, I'm going to smash this missile into this building. I just want to hear anything apart from either investors arguing or the whole negative sentiment around the market at the moment, and we're going into the next 2008, or hearing about, I don't know, yes, these drones just flying on a one-way trip into a structure.
And with that too,
That's
you
my
know,
rant.
and sorry, because I didn't want to cut you off of it, because it's perfect. It's exactly what I need, and hopefully some more people as well. And just like you're saying, and I have a few things on it, like, you know, big shout out to Goat, because again, you know, whether he's doing them just for himself or for himself and to share, you know, yeah, my man, no pressure. All right. If the goats are on, man,
Go for it.
my heart just jumped. All right. Hopefully they treat me well. Love you, Goat. Always good to see you. Can't wait for the Archer Pod on Tuesday. Shout out episode 5. I think will be coming. But back to regularly scheduled program. But yeah, X-Men, it's one of those spaces where, you know, I will say for Goat, like, I love the content that he puts out, and I love when he gets creative and does like the Archer hype videos and stuff like that. And like, it's even one of those things, like, you know, I don't want to call too many people out directly, but like, as Goat was maybe saying that he was willing to do one on the Joby side as well, you know, it was like almost more kind of shot down from some people literally like within that team. And my general sentiment on it is like, you got somebody on X who has a decent amount of followers, you know, a good followers, and all they're trying to do is spread the good word and love about Joby Aviation. Like, literally make a hype video about Joby Aviation, and I've seen the cool ones that he's done on Archer. So, and again, a lot of this footage is public footage and out there. So I think in that sense, he was just more like asking for a blessing, or saying, hey, if you want to bless this, go ahead for it. But at the end of the day, and I talked to him, I said, go for it. This is all public footage, and you go ahead, you rock it, and you make your hype video if that's what you want to do, and don't let somebody inside of Joby, shake you away from that or tell you that can't be done. And then, as we speak on X, and this, I was talking to Liam about this earlier, it's like, and I won't even say the what or the what, but it's like doing things on X I didn't even think I would ever want or need to do. And I'll just leave it at that. And my point is, like, I guess I'm just, I got my X account when I started to want to share eVTOL news. Again, I work a 9 to 5, so I do my very best to research the companies and get the information out. And again, if anybody ever wanted to DM me, they will learn the real reason of why Archer Aviation was one that I became so passionate about. And it's not that Joby's not good. That's not my reason for or not. But yeah, it's just, it just reminds me, Liam, of just dealing with the negative sentiment on X. And again, where I think one of the most productive things we can do is show it's almost like signing a petition. Like, the petition's not going to have Joby, Archer, Beta. Like, the petition's going to have eVTOL. And can we get 20,000 signatures on that petition? Because if either as investors we fall off, or just if the market goes red, so then we start to hate the other company because the other company's red and we're not even invested in the other company. So, like, kind of who cares? Like, you're not losing money when you're not invested in that company. Like, listen, again, my point is, like, let's not tear down each other through the comments. Maybe that person that's invested in Archer is having a tough day feeling their red. Maybe that person in Joby is having a tough day feeling that red. So again, let's come together and let's just support each other. Let's bring each other up and, talk thesis, talk strategies. And, if you guys want, create different sub chat messaging groups. That's been something that's been really fun and healthy. And with that too, where again, you have a few people that you've connected with on X, and you kind of have that like hive mind, and you want to bounce those ideas, create that subgroup and get those thoughts going. And, again, just as I continue to rant, the one thing that I always hope to be able to do is provide you guys the most up-to-date information. And, I'm investing into Archer for a long term, for the 1, 3, 5, 10 year, I call it my 20-year swing trade. Eventually I'll sell Archer if I'm not gifting them down to my son, or, something horrible happens to me. But yeah, maybe one day I will be selling my Archer shares, but it's going to be a long time from now, unless something in the story breaks. And it's not about a conflict. It's really about FAA, the build, meaning mass production of the aircraft, and do the MOUs turn into firm orders. And if these things don't start to develop, yeah, we, Liam, somebody, anybody, everybody, whoever may have to divert from the eVTOL industry and those investments if those aren't going to come to fruition. But again, what we have seen is, even though the conflicts have taken place, I do think that this is there's kind of a double golden opportunity here where you've had the DARs and the DERs on the floor for Archer and Joby. During the government shutdown, it was notated that there was still FAA regulators working either on site or with these two major operators within the US. So you can tell that there's still the push to get the eVTOLs over the line. So continuing to keep an eye and seeing, again, if there's anything fundamentally that breaks down with inside the EIPP. And then again, and like you say, Liam, as kind of things change per earnings call, again, one thing I'll float out there so that we can maybe keep our eye on it is, if not, it's the EIP specifically, like you said, is they'll roll on to the next topic. But maybe, again, let's see if we can get some statistics from the EIPP and really, outside of us just tracking, letting the company showcase really what they've done inside of that program as well. So that's my rant.
Guys, jump into the poll there. It's completely anonymous. I just want to...
Is it the same one?
No.
With a new one? Okay.
This is a new one. So the first one says, with the VTOLs at the moment, are you buy and hold, keep cash to buy lower, or swing trading? 37 people voted. 68% said buy and hold.
Okay.
24% said keeping cash and buying lower, and 8% said swing trading. Now, this is exactly what I thought would happen as soon as I said it would be anonymous. 50% of people are invested in both Archer and Joby. So, guys, the question is, out of interest, are you invested in Joby and Archer?
Great question.
Yes, no, only one of them, or not at all. 50% of 12 people so far, and it's still going up. 50% says yes, they're invested in both of them. 33% says only one of them, and 15% says no, not at all. And that shows you guys, you may think you have a pact when it comes to only Archer, only Joby, but the majority of people invest in both, and it's an uncomfortable space for people to speak when they invest in both. They feel like they have to pick a side, and that was just to prove a point. I done that there.
Like you said, to pick a side or not be able. Oh, I'm sorry. Go for it real quick.
Max says bought beater on margin at an all-time low. He plans on selling it. I plan on selling it.
I hope it works out, man.
Ooh, okay, do you know what? If that actually runs, Beta has been doing this thing where it bounces towards the $15. So that actually could be a nice little trade. So that I'm actually impressed with. Jonathan says last week got 4 on video, 1.5 meta, and 26 Joby. Big shout out, Jonathan. Love that.
Nice spread.
I want both, just have too much in Horizon. See, Jernigan, big shout out. Love that.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Deep dive, Dylan. Hey. Spreading is the good word.
Love it. Hey, much appreciated, Cloud.
I bought another 1,000 Horizon when it went to 135. I'm thinking of a day scalp trading it. The first minute Friday, it shot up 4% and fell. What do you guys think? I think Horizon Aircraft is a great little swing trade at the moment. I've been doing it in that $500 day or $500 day, $500 portfolio challenge. I'm trying to swing trade it. But Dylan, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm so sorry, but great point, Liam, too. And just again, when we talk about possible recoveries and such, Joby and Archer, again, have seemed like they've more ladder and stair step down. I would say, to me, HOVR had the most just kind of, most kind of off the cliff kind of V shape. So again, with what they say, kind of the faster it comes down, possibly the faster it can come back up. So yeah, definitely think that there could possibly be that swing trade that is quicker there with inside of HOVR. And beta is, it's an interesting one because I am in line with your sentiment on it kind of touching around those 1450 ranges and having that bounce back up to about the $18 to $20 ranges. And, it may get sold off again a little bit more after that. So, I think it'll be interesting to see, where beta is right now. are we going to from about, in the 14 to the 18, or do we face some of that retracement we have not seen yet and start touching the 12 and 1150s? So it'll be an interesting week.
This is going to be a shameless plug, guys. I've started running more spaces on X.
Nice.
And what I'm going to start using them as is like a diary. So I don't care if no one listens. I'm just going to start putting my thoughts around the VTOL industry out. I'm going to try and do them daily. Maybe it'll only be like 15, 20-minute space where I done it the last day where I was just driving and I just attach one of these and I just talk away.
Nice.
It's a lot more laid back and I don't know, less formal than videos, but at least I can keep an eye. And at least you guys can jump in and have your say. Anne says added a further 750 Joby shares last week with dry powder ready for the coming week, especially with Monday's lockup, which could give more downside on top of worsening macro possible. And you are in a great position now at the moment. So, Anne, big shout out. Is anyone following Anne with that? Jonathan says I'm at 500 Archer and 438 Joby now. Jonathan,
congrats.
You are building a nice solid portfolio there.
Congrats.
Jonathan, oh no, Jonathan is in I was going to say, are you only in eVTOLs? Because that would be brave, but no, you're in NVIDIA and Meta.
Good spread. Good spread.
Do you know what? The S&P, like if you look at the Magnificent Seven, each of them are down double digits year to date now. So look at this one, Liz. Horizon Aircraft had 130 bottom. Level 2 had so much thousands of buys, 130 to 125. I don't believe it should go under 130. The markets are rational. The market is very irrational.
They are, and I don't know if you're using the level 2 data on Hood or not. Maybe you're a better expert with it than me, but again, and maybe it also comes into play again whether we're doing the day trading and kind of finding those candles that are going to be looked to be good bounces off certain EMA lines and such like that. But yeah, sometimes I look at that level 2 order book data and sometimes I feel like I'm sitting there for an hour trying to like time my buy, and then I'm like, well, I'm holding this for like 10 years, so I'm like, I'll just wait till 10:45, catch a normal 10:45 dip, and snack a little bit and be out, and wait till the next day. But yeah, no. I like all strategies, and yeah, I hope everybody profits out of this. But we're gonna be here for the good times, bad times, and those middle times.
Guys, not even half of you have hit that like button. Please do it. We're here every Sunday. We've been here every Sunday for like 2 years. So do smash that like button. We're going to keep these live streams up, especially in times like this. You needed a therapy session. This is the kind of thing we need on a Sunday. And yeah, I will continue to be here every day during the week as well. So do jump into the live streams. And if you want to speak about eVTOL, we can do that too. While Saddle, big shot. I saw it a few days ago. I was surprised they never gave him a ride in that. Right. Guys, smash that like button. And also, if you haven't, do bang that subscribe button. We're really pushing towards 5,000 subscribers. It's been a little bit of a plateau at the moment, as expected, as the market completely tanks off. Yeah, so do subscribers. And you've had people unsubscribing left, right, center because eVTOL seems to not be the thing for them in times like this. But look, I think it's a great way to end it. I think we started off negative, finished positive. Dylan, thank you so much as always. My name is Liam, one of the hosts of Proffers. Do smash that like, smash that subscribe on the way out, and also follow Dylan is Dylan11 on X. And yeah, we do start posting more and more regularly on X as we start growing our account. So, right guys, until tomorrow, we'll see you then.
Have a great week, y'all.